As crazy as it is, Fallout 76 is now only 2 months away from release, and we still know very little about the game itself and how the gameplay experience will compare to other BGS games in the past. Obviously, implementing online multiplayer is a huge step for Bethesda Game Studios as a developer, just as much as it is for Fallout as a franchise. And even though I think it has the possibility to be quite disappointing, which depends on how the execution turns out, I am hopeful that the game does turn out to be a pretty solid Fallout entry. So keeping with this optimistic attitude surrounding the game, here are my 5 biggest hopes for Fallout 76. Number 1, I want the world to be super fun to explore, and I want it to capture the same magic that I'm used to in Bethesda Game Studios games. The open world and the map in Bethesda Game Studios games is always the number one thing that makes them stand out amongst the crowd of generic open world games. As someone who's mostly acquainted with Skyrim and Fallout 4 when it comes to their games, I absolutely adore both of those open worlds, but in particularly Skyrim's. They're just an absolute joy to explore, and I hope that Fallout 76 has a world that rivals the feeling that I always get when I'm exploring Skyrim. And I hope that the multiplayer aspect and the fact that there's going to be other random players running around from time to time, I hope that does not interfere with the core exploration experience that I always seek from a BGS game. I want there to be a ton of awesome, varied, and unique locations. And while size obviously is not everything when it comes to creating an open world, the fact that it's apparently 4 times the size of Fallout 4's map definitely sounds promising on paper to me. Number 2, VATS. It's something that's incredibly unique and distinct to the Fallout franchise. I always love having the option when exploring the world to simply slow down the game and it basically turn into a real-time strategy game where I can pick and choose what parts I want to target on an enemy. It's a unique idea that I've always really loved about the Fallout games. So when Fallout 76 was confirmed to be online only, and nothing about VATS was originally mentioned at the E3 presentation, I was concerned that VATS were perhaps removed from the game altogether, especially since the core FPS mechanics of the Fallout franchise have never been that stellar. They certainly improved in Fallout 4, but never have they been top-notch stuff. But Todd Howard did confirm in an interview not long after E3 that VATS are indeed in the game, but instead of slowing down time or pausing time like they have in the past, obviously allowing for the online space, time does not slow down or alter in any way, it's all done in real time. So I hope this new approach to VATS that lacks any kind of time manipulation does turn out to be well executed. Basically, I'm just concerned that the online environment breaks VATS as we know it, but hopefully that isn't the case, because since I suck at first-person shooters, that is probably what I'll be relying on the most. Number 3, environmental storytelling. Bethesda Game Studios have always been masters of environmental storytelling. The vast majority of locations you visit in other BGS games are designed with such care and they tell such an interesting narrative just visually. So since Fallout 76 doesn't have any kind of NPCs or a traditional story as we know it in Fallout, I hope that the environmental storytelling I'm encountering when exploring the world is top-notch and some of the best we've ever seen from BGS to make up for the lack of NPCs and other forms of storytelling. Number 4, I hope the quests are actually decent. Todd Howard has mentioned that you'll be obtaining quests through journal entries and robots and other things like that around the world. Now on paper that makes me pretty skeptical. I just don't know how fun or engaging side quests can be when there are no NPCs involved whatsoever. Because a core storytelling tool such as the non-player character who normally is talking to the player and spouting dialogue is completely removed from the equation when it comes to designing quests. I hope that BGS have found a way to still make quests relatively interesting. I hope there's creative ways in which quests can be obtained through interactions perhaps with other players or something like that. Basically what I'm saying is that I just don't want there to be generic, uninspired fetch quests that are just given to you by holotapes and terminals and things like that. That sounds boring. Obviously that isn't the kind of content we want in the game, so I hope they've found a way around this dilemma. And number 5, I just want single player to be fun. Todd Howard made it very clear you can play Fallout 76 by yourself, which is obviously awesome. However, the game is going to be always online, meaning there are always going to be other players running around the world with you, as you are always going to be within a server. So I guess this request is relatively broad, but at the end of the day, I just want to be able to go out by myself, not really have to think about or worry about other players at certain periods of time. Obviously I want to interact with other players, but in periods of time where I'm not feeling that and I just want to go out on my own and explore, I still want the pure Fallout single player experience when I am ignoring other players and going out on my own. I simply just want that experience to still be fun and akin to other Fallout experiences and other Bethesda Game Studios experiences. I do not want a situation with Fallout 76 where it's boring when you play by yourself and it's only made fun and interesting when you've got other players in a party with you. I want a fun single player Fallout game where there is always the option present to play with friends if you want to. Make sure you leave a comment down below what some of your biggest hopes for Fallout 76 are. This has been SirCazz, farewell.